USL expansion talks in California, World Cup ticketing update, and what will the Lorain County Leviathan kit look like? That and much more on Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Good morning. You found your way to the show where we dot the map of the American soccer landscape. This is Morning Kickaround. My name is Robert Kerr, local soccer guy. And to my side, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling? Happy Friday.
I'm ready to clang the clanger today. I don't know if we're clanging it. I think we're maybe like approaching the clanger and considering clanging it, but we'll talk about what that is and why I'm explaining it that way. It's Friday, Rob. I'm ready to go. I'm wearing a dead soccer team's jersey. I'm being very American soccer today. Let's do this. Let's add some ultras. Let's get some new members. Let's get some new subscribers. If you love American soccer, if you love the growth of American soccer, if you're interested in the stories that are percolating up, not the big ones at the top that are going down, but the little ones that are coming up through the bottom, like bubbles coming off the bottom of the ocean. Is that how bubbles work? Then become a subscriber and then become an ultra and support American soccer through Morning Kickaround. Help us dot the map.
Yeah, as we want to do, dotting the map here, we're going to be talking all the different levels of soccer. World Cup, USL professional expansion, and then some interesting marketing and imaging and branding from a new elite summer league team. So we're covering quite a few levels of the American pyramid, if we can call it that.
Is it a pyramid? Is it a pyramid? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's not get bogged down in the details.
The American soccer amoeba, let's call it that.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's good. That's good.
The ever-changing landscape. Yeah, so support, become a member, become a subscriber for no cost. Sit there, watch along, and enjoy the show, and tell a friend if you are really enjoying it. Reach out at morningkickaround@gmail.com if you've got any business inquiries or just have a lengthy note, or you can cover us with a little bit of support on social media at mkickaround across all of the social media platforms. You ready to kick it? Here, Mr.
I do want to, well, let's say good morning. I did mention the ultras. Let's say good morning to everybody. Shout out to Jeff, Fayetteville, North Carolina, in the building. Our man Chris. Heyo, one from John Stark. We got PSU to DCU. This is my man Nick, who was in the Discord talking about his thoughts on USL. A little bit of a skeptic, but maybe that's something we could talk through. He is also asking if I have a radio show, which, Nick, that's a best soccer show bit. That's not a morning kick around bit. We're not porting over the jokes. I don't think. Phil talks sports. He just became an ultra. That is incredible. Congratulations. You've made good choices in life. We've got Chris, a different Chris Huey. Morning MK crew, coffee kickers. Okay. And then a homeless shoe is here as well. A yo from him. So shout out to all our ultras. Are we ready to go? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Let's go. Let's kick this morning's long balls on Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Let's go. We're leading the day off with World Cup stories. So it is time to remind you that Morning Kickaround's World Cup coverage is brought to you now by Oakland County Football Club. They are celebrating 10 years of summer soccer in Southeast Michigan in 2026. Visit Oakland County FC online for more. It is 146 days until World Cup 2026 kicks off.
No, 146. Oh, I'm not ready.
And confusion around the tickets has already been a bit weird, but confusion has increased this week. FIFA said that they have received more than 500 million ticket requests for the World Cup during a 33-day application window. And this all comes in the midst of other teams and countries being added to travel ban lists and some debated reports of up to 15 to 17,000 tickets being canceled. So the World Cup 2026 ticketing process and just everything surrounding it getting a little murkier this week.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are happening here that I find interesting. One, I don't know if this is broken out and escaped containment. The story that thousands of people canceled their tickets. I don't know if anybody in your life, like my wife, who loves me very much and appreciates that I care about this game and that I work in soccer, isn't a soccer person. Nevertheless, made sure to send me something she saw in her Instagram feed that said thousands of people had canceled their tickets. Now, FIFA is saying, no, that didn't happen. And then you get the sort of boomerang thing where a bunch of outlets are now saying, well, no, that was all nonsense. That's not true. It's a misinformation. But that seems to be only on the word of FIFA that's in misinformation. And so we just don't know. Did thousands of people cancel their tickets in the aftermath of some other things happening in American society? It would stand to reason that people did, but we don't know for sure because when the reports come out, there's really no sourcing. It's just saying thousands of people canceled. FIFA pushes back and said, no, thousands of people didn't cancel. And so we're all left here to go, okay, what's the real deal with this? And then there's the 500 million ticket requests that FIFA says that they have fielded. And I don't know that I can believe that number, Rob. That strange credulity, I think. And I was reading Miguel Delaney writing at The Independent in the UK, and he's writing from an England fan perspective, so talking to the England supporters groups that want to travel for the World Cup. And we'll get to the biggest hang up for them in a second, but that thing about 500 million ticket requests, the supporters groups in England are very, very skeptical of those numbers. They say that they don't have the Football Supporters Europe, which is a wider pan supporters group. They said that the level of interest is comparable to Qatar, and that tournament barely saw any major fan group travel outside Argentina, Mexico, Morocco, and Saudi Arabia. And so do we take FIFA at their word that they've got all these ticket requests? Because are there enough people who care about the sport in America who might pay the prices to go to the World Cup to justify 500 million ticket requests? Probably not. It would have to come, many of those, a lot of those would have to come from outside the country. And again, nobody really knows except for what FIFA tells us, and you certainly cannot trust what FIFA tells us, Rob.
Yeah, 500 million is an absurdly big, that's a bigly type number if I was to coin a phrase for that. And just
Keeps
a quick
going
Google.
up. Very much like that. It keeps every couple of weeks. It's like, oh, it was 200. Now it's a billion. Well, a billion. You know, it's just a number. It doesn't mean anything right now. In part because of the ticket buying process is still murky, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have to get a consultancy to figure out like if you're doing the World Cup ticket purchasing right. But just a quick Google, 500 million is actually 6% of the entire globe's population, according to this search.
Obviously, this what they're hoping people think is that that people are asking for multiple tickets, like the one person is putting in requests for multiple games, and that sort of justifies that 500 million number. It's not unique individuals, although FIFA is claiming that they have credit card data that backs this up. But again, they're not showing that to us. They're just telling us they have that.
Yeah, it's definitely a FIFA's word against not. And so that rumored and maybe debunked 17,000 canceled tickets, I saw this number, is 0.0005 of this reported 500 million requested tickets. So it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around a little bit.
The other thing that is absolutely atrocious about this process, and it's a thing that Miguel writes in The Independent, and I encourage you to go read the story for yourself. And this, again, comes from the England fan perspective, but this is true for everybody else. You put in your application, you don't even know necessarily how much you're going to be paying for your ticket. I'll read the lead here. The deadline for initial World Cup ticket applications passed on Tuesday, with many England fans having no idea what they'll end up paying despite having to commit. The difference could end up being thousands of dollars, but now they can't cancel, right? So application, to what Andrew is saying. And by the way, Andrew,
nobody has a physical ticket. Nobody.
It's applications. FIFA has not issued the tickets. What they've said is put in your application, put down your credit card information, and when we get there, you'll get charged and you'll get your tickets. But again, some fans eligible for the $60 ticket, which only came into the picture, what, a month ago? After
33 days. 33 days.
After FIFA was just absolutely hammered by people saying, what the hell's going on? Why is every ticket thousands of dollars or $500? Some fans eligible for the limited $60 tickets, and that was supposed to be for supporters, by the way, will be sitting near relatives in the same section, facing thousands of dollars in difference. So you could end up in the same section as somebody who has paying $60 for their ticket, when you're going to be paying thousands of dollars because of the limited number of $60 tickets, and because they're not differentiating in terms of section, in terms of where you'll be sitting next to somebody, a relative, again, potentially, I want to travel with my relative. They've got to put in an application because you're limited. I think for the supporters tickets, you're limited to 2 people. You're limited to 2 tickets, right? So, and again, think about that. I got a family of 4. I'm a dad, and I want to take my wife and my 2 kids and go to the World Cup in my home country. And this is England, but this also applies to American supporters. Okay, well, I'm an AO member. I can have access to the $60 tickets. Oh, but you can only put an application for 2. You can't put an application for 4. Your wife can put in an application for 2, but is there a guarantee that she's going to get the tickets and you're going to get the tickets and you're going to all be able to sit together? No.
Yes, so you're going to spend all that money, travel all the way around the world, and potentially not even be with your group. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow. And then like the unknown amount is like just blindly putting your credit card number in and like hoping that you don't bankrupt yourself.
And don't forget, I know we talked about this with Travel Football Fan. Don't forget that lots of people were like, oh, the World Cup's going to America. I want to go. Okay, well, I can't wait too long to book my hotel. Once we get the schedule out, right? Once the draw is done and we know the schedule and we know where England's going to be and the Dutch are going to be. Oh, I'm going to travel across the ocean. Now, again, I'm also inclined to feel sympathetic towards Americans who might have to travel within a very large country to see their thing. Not everybody lives in Seattle and LA, right? And you want to see the U.S. men's national team and you have to travel from the East Coast to go see those games. It's not quite the same as coming from Europe, but it's still a lift. And you're like, well, I got to book my hotel and I got to book my flight. And you do those things as prices rise. And then, the tickets are going to be thousands of dollars. Oh, well, I don't think I can afford this. Now I got to go cancel everything. And I'm not, again, like FIFA has made this so painful a process that it is actually turning fans off of the game, period.
Yeah, from our previous posts, there's been a number of people saying like, I cancel my ticket. And we even had a commenter saying they're canceling their cable package when the tournament starts as to not even partake in the viewing of it, which is a whole nother step forward. Something that came out of this report from FIFA that is a little bit, not exclusively negative, but the top ticket request countries: United States, Mexico, Canada, no surprise, the host nations. But then internationally, it's Germany, England, Brazil, Spain, Portugal, Argentina, and Colombia are the top 10 ticket requesting nations. And the highest demand games, Colombia versus Portugal, which Travel Football Fan definitely noted as the hottest ticket in this purchasing window. Then second, Mexico versus Korea, the World Cup final, Mexico, South Africa, and round of 32 in Toronto are the top
you've got
tickets.
A couple of games in Mexico on that list. I think that reflects obviously Mexico's interest in their national team, clearly, but it's just easier again, we're focused on the American element.
They set a cap, and they have a little bit more regulation going on in the Mexican.
They have limits on some of the elements of ticket pricing and things like that. I mean, that I don't know how important that is to the number of requests. I think largely that's just, again, a function of the passion that Mexican football fans have for their country and their national team. But man, the whole thing doesn't have to be this way.
This is intentional. This is intentional.
And it also comes with a report out. I saw this, that Gianni Infantino makes $6 million something a year as FIFA president. This is something like a 300% increase from his salary when he got the job, when he became FIFA president, right? And man,
that's the number. So for you to cozy up to all the dictators around the world and do all that thing, apparently the number to do all that, 6 million.
Again, all of this just feels like it's meant to line the pockets of a few individuals at the expense of fans. Again, the quotes, I mean, this is the kind of quotes that you would expect to hear. Discussion groups involving members of the England Supporters Travel Club feature comments like obscene, blatant exploitation, a preying on loyalty and the feeling this is priceless, and ultimately FIFA can stick it. They've ruined the best tournament in the world.
Oh, that's a tough pill to swallow. Hopefully not just hyperbolic for quote's sake, but hopefully that doesn't turn out to be true. But if you look at the themes of, you're saying Qatar had the least amount of traveling groups, and you'd say that maybe that trend continues here in 2026.
Yeah, and I don't think we thought that it was going to be like that. And again, it's not just about ticket prices, not just about how expensive it is to travel. It's also about the conditions on the ground and what you might have to deal with, and not knowing. Like, people
Getting
may
through the
laugh
airport.
off. Yeah, well, people may laugh off, and I know that we've had comments on the channel. Oh, whatever, stop while you're whining. This is important to do whatever the administration wants to do around immigration and stuff. I disagree vehemently. I think it's wrong to be kidnapping people off the street. That's just my personal opinion. Whatever. But even if you're like, oh, this is something necessary for our country, and you believe in the ideology that would direct us to be doing what we're doing, people who are traveling for the biggest tournament in the world don't know what they're going to be running into. They cannot be sure. You can't tell them, hey, 100% you're going to be safe, because you can't. That's a lie. It's a lie to say we know you're going to be safe when you come. Why would you trust that if you're a soccer fan?
Emptying out your
a pall cast on the entire, and emptying out your bank account in order to do it. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, potential, no reason, unexplained detention and bank account going empty sounds like a troubling mix for anyone considering, a huge trip. Costs are up to travel anywhere, especially international travel is expensive. So we'll see how that all plays out. As I said at the top of the show, it is 146 days until World Cup 2026 kicks off. Morning Kickaround's World Cup coverage is brought to you now by Oakland County Football Club, celebrating 10 years of summer soccer in Southeast Michigan 2026. Visit Oakland County FC online for more information. All right, let's kick it over to our next subject of the day. Let's move right along. All right, we're definitely firing up the expansion clanger. Clank the clanger, as they say. And I'm going to say this is probably one of the most fun quotes to open up one of these segments. Today, we are announcing our engagement. It is our intent to get married, but there are a lot of details of this wedding that still haven't got done yet. Those words coming from the mouth of Fresno, California Mayor Jerry Dyer.
I love Clank the Clanger. We've got to make a bumper with the sound. It's got to be something we do officially on the show.
Now, again, sound engineers out there,
I actually think we have to be judicious here. The clanger's not getting clanged. Clanked. It's not getting clanked, the clanger, because this is there's still lots of work to do to get Fresno a brand new professional soccer team. You read one quote there from the mayor. Now, Pablo is saying the fourth time, and we were trying to do the history. I mean, we know some of this. We've lived some of this, but we were trying to get the history down. I guess the original Fuego started way back in 2003. That was a summer league club. That was not a professional outfit. So I guess you can count that Fresno Fuego as something, right? It's, again, not professional. Then you've got Fresno FC. Actually got the logos for the last two professional clubs in Fresno. That's Fresno Football Club, aka the Foxes, or Los Zorros, if you want to do the Spanish version. And then Fuego FC, which is the more recent attempt. They played League One. They drew like 700 people a game or less than that. They also had Jermaine Jones come through like a hurricane, wreak havoc, create a toxic environment, get suspended, which brought all this negative press to Fresno and to the Fuego.
Is Jermaine Jones? Is he wrecking ball? Miley Cyrus? Is he the guy coming in on a wrecking ball, swinging into a soccer club?
Yeah, he is not so Tasmanian devil level stuff from Jermaine Jones, who, like, as a player, I loved, and I would I would like for Jermaine to get his together so he can be part of American soccer. But he made a mess of things in Fresno, ran afoul of the players, ran afoul of the Players Association, eventually got suspended and got booted. And so then you're like, okay, well, maybe Fresno is just salted earth. Like, maybe you just can't do it in Fresno. But USL is nothing if not persistent, Rob. They will try and try and try again. And of course, Fresno is the right kind of town for a soccer club. Like, it feels like they should be able to do this. Now, I believe that the reason that neither Fresno Football Club, which became Monterey Bay, moved west and became Monterey Bay, or Fuego FC, Central Valley Fuego, worked is because they didn't have a stadium. So this is about getting the stadium in place. Justin Papadakis in Fresno for this press conference on Tuesday. And we did, and look, I would love to get Justin on the show. Just to say, we have no ill will towards Justin Papadakis. I just had a conversation with a friend in the soccer industry, and he was like, this is, you got to be impressed by what they're doing. And this makes sense. And I agree. Like, as much as you can be cynical about the real estate play element of it, if this is how USL grows, because you lean into like getting cities to buy into a real estate project, and then you plop soccer into it, fine. If that's a back door for soccer to get into the marketplace, I'm cool with it. So we respect what they're doing. Here's the quotes. We say every match is a 2-hour commercial for the city, and we want the nation and the world to see the community living room. That's what we call our stadiums here in Fresno. All right.
All right. So between the mayor and Mr. Papadakis, they're feeling themselves with these quotes here.
Yeah, and it's kind of like they all got flashy thingied by Men in Black, because it's like, you shouldn't. Are you not remembering that 2 clubs came and died in Fresno? They're acting some of these quotes, and I didn't watch the whole press conference, but some of these quotes make it seem like they're forgetting the history of Fresno, but maybe they're just being positive, right? You got to put a positive spin on this.
Oh, of course.
This clip also includes they want to connect with local youth clubs and have some stuff, and that's great. That's all great. I got this one too. Officials in Fresno began discussing the idea with USL in November, but it's an idea that dates back even further. Dyer, that's the mayor of Fresno, said at a press conference this week the city is evaluating stadium locations, financing options, and potential ownership groups. Fresno is ready to not only have its own soccer teams, professional soccer teams, but Fresno is ready to have its own dedicated soccer stadium right here in downtown Fresno. Though downtown is one of the expected locations for the new stadium, exactly where in downtown has not yet been revealed. But wherever it is, officials expected to generate revenue. Dyer said this venue would serve as an anchor to a much larger entertainment district. The dollar signs in the eyes, like a cartoon, are right there for you. Like, it's right there in these quotes, Rob.
So what did we say are the pillars to these pitch meetings? So obviously, Mr. Papadakis is like, flying from city to city. Almost, I want to picture him on like an old-timey train going from town to town, like giving his pitch to all these whistle-stop spots.
Yeah.
But what are the pillars of these pitches? So we got so the pillars of these things is a willing city council.
Yes.
Land.
Yes.
And like a celebrity or a name of note attached to
it. Maybe. This story about Fresno and the announcement also includes that the former head coach of Fresno FC, Adam Smith, I believe his name is involved in trying to kick up the ownership group. That is not yet together. Officials with the city and USL have already toured multiple downtown locations, are evaluating funding models for the idea. They say stadium financing may be paid for primarily through private and public partnerships, but also private equity funds. A potential ownership group is being assembled. Most of the investment work will be led by Fresno Pro Soccer LLC, which is overseen by Adam Smith, former head coach of the Fresno Foxes. So, yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done. You don't have anybody who is actually saying, I'm ready to clock the checks necessary to make this happen. Now, you said he's going around America. Maybe he's got a little hat on. Maybe he's got an old timey suitcase. It does smack a little of monorail. Like it does smack a little bit of that. In fact, I think somebody in the Discord was like, yeah, of course this is going to work. It worked in Ogdenville and whatever he says in the Simpsons episode, the other places that he says put in a monorail. Like but at the same time, look, there is something to back this up in terms of the sport and what it can mean to the community. And as much as I always want to leave space in the conversation for a question about how this benefits the community in terms of the dollars being spent. Like if you pay your taxes in Fresno and those tax dollars are going to building a soccer stadium, is that a good return on your taxes? That's a tough thing to answer yes or no. It's kind of a gray area thing. But I am also somebody who really believes in the power of sports, and specifically because I love this game, the power of soccer to bring a community together. And yeah, there is a line where you're spending too much, or you're giving away too much, or you're helping a wealthy individual too much, and you're basically giving away things to somebody who doesn't need that. But the power of a sports team to create an identity and a civic spirit is real. I really believe that that's real.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And then we talked about the not a farm team aspect of it. I wonder how much of a sell that is. Like you will be representing X city, this case, Fresno. Like it will be specifically your team playing for your town. And I think that has a lot of intangible power behind it.
Right.
City officials. So what the actual outcome of this meeting on Tuesday, what actually happened was that the city and USL came to an exclusivity agreement. So basically, they're calling dibs on development there. So they're in a group together. So they actually entered into this agreement back in November, which I thought was an interesting note. And city officials are hoping to start this team by March of 2028. So definitely in the early stages here, but trying to go for it for a third or fourth time out in Fresno. And I know on the show, we don't really give assignments, but as we've been talking, if there's anyone handy with short graphics out there, an animation of Justin Papadakis, head sticking out of a train, waving his arm, hitting some sort of a bell or a clanger.
Old-fashioned, yeah. I also think it's important to acknowledge that Fresno Fuego or Central Valley Fuego still exists, okay? They're no longer pro. I think we maybe implied that they don't exist. They stopped being a pro team and became basically an amateur outfit that plays in the league for clubs. I believe it's technically the Fresno U23s or the Central Valley Fuego U23s who play in the league for clubs. And I think there is an effort to level up Fuego and maybe even build something small in terms of a stadium, but maybe not obviously centrally located downtown, et cetera, et cetera. So this is much bigger, obviously, in terms of the league and the level and things like that. But I suppose it's possible we can end up with two teams in Fresno, two teams sort of battling in the same way that Chattanooga has Chattanooga FC and the Red Wolves in two different leagues at the same level. Then maybe this would not be the same level, but I think, I worry about that because you're splitting the baby on a marketplace that probably needs focus on one club. But you can't tell somebody who wants to start a team in league for clubs and maybe go to USL or go to MLS Next Pro or something not to do it just because there's a USL team in town, right? Unfortunately, our system does not work that way. There's no exclusivity outside of the leagues. So that's interesting. Although, again, the city and their involvement is tied directly to USL now.
And also note there is a women's team, a Fuego Femenil, playing there. So definitely make that note. And then, Olive York, let's make an FC monorail kit, which would be an absolute hoot. But we'll see if we see a 5,000 to 7,000 attendee stadium out in Fresno, California. It'd be interesting to add some regionalization out there in California. Thank you to all of our subscribers, our MK Ultras, our channel members, and you'll see their comments up on screen. One of the perks of becoming a channel member, you get your comments on screen during these live streams. And if you want to inquire more, it's just like $3 a month. You get access to the Discord server, early access to videos, bonus content, access to getting your comments on screen, and so much more. Loving the Discord. It's a great information gathering thing. A lot of people sharing information. We get a lot of news across the country from our dedicated soccer folks in the Morning Kickaround Discord server. All right, we have our guest waiting in the wings, so we're going to dot the map. We're going to head over to Ohio in our episode of Get to Know Your District here on Morning Kickaround. A new team in Ohio will start their debut season in 2026 in USL 2. And this team has made its way onto the show a couple times, A, because I couldn't pronounce the word, and then B, because they have a very unique logo. And to describe and talk about Lorain County Leviathan, we've got club chairman Andrew McDonald. Welcome to Morning Kickaround, sir.
Thank you, Rob. I want to hear you say Leviathan again, like a couple of weeks ago.
Leviathan. I had literally never, I don't know how, I had never seen this word or I didn't recognize it. I was saying Leviathan, all sorts of stuff, but I do know now. I feel more educated. It's Leviathan.
We love Rob's mispronunciations on this show because they're they all come from an honest place. That happens to the best of us. Andrew, welcome to the show. We've thrown the logo up for anybody who missed it when we talked about it originally. And I gotta ask about the logo before we talk about your new kits and the voting process. What led to the creation of what I definitely think in a world of unique logos in American soccer is one of the most unique?
So, I mean, I'm a traditional soccer guy. So when I was kind of sketching out the logos, like all of us USL2, team founders do, mine looked like West Ham or Man City or something you'd see, in England. When we engaged with Hitch, it kind of took a life of its own. Like, so I didn't wake up one morning and say Leviathan or Leviathan, and, it came to fruition. It was, meeting with the community, kind of, we probably started with about 50 logos, narrowed it down to 4, all of which had a specific, tie into the county. And then this is the one, overwhelmingly about 2,000 votes came in. And this one was the clear winner. So to answer your question, it developed out of the communities, that's our famous lighthouse. We've had quite a number of storms out on Lake Erie that have sunk, I think the most ships on all the Great Lakes. And our Leviathan is kind of, risen from those to be a protector of the county. So, there's a backstory to them. But yeah, this would not have been what I would have dreamt up a year ago. I would have had a West Ham United,
Yeah, I got you. It stands out. People seem to like it in the chat. Our ultras seem to like it. You mentioned, you talked about Hitch. It definitely seems like there's a theme with some of Hitch's clubs, like a cryptid theme. Like we've got a Chupacabra club. We've got, I don't know, is he involved in Appalachian with the big? I know there's a Bigfoot out in Washington that maybe isn't a Hitch club. That feels like there's something there, like a cup we could do with these clubs that are all have these like cryptozoology references. Right. Exactly. We can do that.
Yeah, I mean, his team is very talented. Brian Price is actually the one who designed this logo. And I can get it out to your followers, how this logo kind of evolved from his sketches. It kind of reminds me of going to like Walt Disney World and seeing the original sketches of Mickey Mouse, how this, sort of started out, and then the waves and the lighthouse. And, it was really kind of a very exciting, process for all the logos. But this one was the one that everyone chose.
Well, let me ask you about, okay, so you're starting a summer league soccer club, right? You're starting a club that is not going to be a professional soccer club. And it definitely seems like one of the things that has come along in recent years with clubs like yours is this notion that, hey, we're not just putting some players on the field, or we're not just putting Lorain County on a logo. We're creating an image that they can then, kind of backfill and help the club out in terms of, marketing and selling the club. And so how centered was marketing in the launch of Lorain County Leviathan?
So I think there was a lot of history that went into it. So this ownership group actually owns Akron City FC as well, which is in its 5th year. And what we learned in those first 4 or 5 years was how this was a community asset. So what we did is we actually studied the National League and the National League North and South, which we think is the most equal comparison in the English pyramid to the USL 2. And what we realized is these are all community assets. There's not fans in northern England that are following Salisbury. It's just that Salisbury community. So our target market wasn't the state of Ohio. It was the 313,000 people in Lorain County, because it's going to be their team. So it had to be something that they understood, that made sense to them. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone in Cuyahoga County or Cleveland, because that's not who we're our supporters. So that's kind of the evolution of the idea was the lighthouse is key to our identity, the lake is key to our identity, industry is key to our identity. It didn't make it into this kit, but some of the ultra groups that are forming online are taking that industrial kind of assembly line type wording to their organizations. So yeah, everything just ties back to the community. We had we voted once, maybe I voted twice for the jerseys. But at the end of the day, just like the logo, just like the jerseys coming out, there's one that I like. It is probably not going to win, and that is okay, because we're going to go with what the fans have chosen.
Rob, do we want to look at the jersey?
I wanted to say I am excited to show these kit designs, and I do love the voting. But I did want to ask, for those who don't live in Lorain County, this is not the map. So I want to know, what is the current soccer scene? What is the hunger for soccer that made you decide to put it here in Lorain County, Ohio?
So, if you look at the top of the pyramid, Columbus Crew and FC Cincinnati sell out, but they're a clear 2-hour drive away. Detroit does well. That's a 2-hour drive away. So there's nothing in the Cleveland area at this time. So Akron City does very well. 1,700, on a good night, 1,000 on a Tuesday. So, filling the stands down there. Our competing clubs now are, the Pittsburgh teams, Erie, FC Buffalo, Akron City, which, we are a parent of, but 2 separate organizations. And then Cleveland Force, which is kind of like a club-based organization.
Interesting. So basically, you're saying that there's a soft spot in Ohio where you're trying to fill, essentially.
Yeah, so I think Vermont Green is kind of like everyone's icon. Like, if we could become like Vermont Green. So we found out that they sold 349 season tickets in their first year. And now they're obviously, the cream of the crop. We're at 323 as of this morning, without a schedule and without a roster. So that's kind of like the gold standard we're going for. Obviously, if we could, duplicate what's going on in Annapolis, that would be even more amazing. But really, what we're finding is that the community is behind it. Everyone's talking about it. So it's doing what it should be doing, which is bringing the community together.
That's great that you're getting some traction. That sounds all very positive there.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, on Thursday, you launched a great fan initiative. You said you had fans vote on the logo, and you've continued that with the selection of the debut look, what the team will be wearing on the field, the kits. And I did this a few times back in the day for Oakland County FC, my team locally, and it's one of the great ways to feel involved in what the team is going to look like. And then if yours gets picked, there's a little ounce of validation. So Let's bring on the 3 pairs of looks that Leviathan fans are voting on.
Yeah. So this is the first one, and what it's supposed to represent, hidden in the jersey top there is actually the eyes of the Leviathan. So that's kind of the hidden look there. And then obviously the colors. I saw actually at Disney World, there's a little soccer shop there, and I saw one of Liverpool's kind of away, one of their one-off jerseys, and just loved like the color scheme. So I brought that to Brian, and it kind of fit with what the Leviathan theme is going to go with. So we have that teal and yellow look going on there.
That's a unique color scheme. I mean, you guys definitely landed on something that I can't think of, especially that green. I'm not sure that exists anywhere. Rob, do you know of any clubs?
I was going to say
like
there's a lot of expansion teams in USL 1 that have like more of that darker forest green, like you think Hearts of Pine or that Vermont green, but not quite that. It almost has a little bit of a Norwich sort of a thing.
Yeah,
that
and Seattle Sounders is kind of in that realm, but
interesting. All right, so this is A, like you said, the eyes of the Leviathan. Like you can see that eyes, and then like nostrils down by the waistline. Right. I think is what we got there. Mm-hmm. So this is B. This is kind of a.
I do want to hear you. I'll say I've never seen a kit like this, so I'd love to hear the explanation.
Yeah, never.
So this one definitely needs further explanation. So kind of like when you're looking at it from 5 feet away, you kind of see that Manchester City sash. But if you actually kind of look at the logo, the sash or the yellow is actually the beam of the lighthouse that's coming across the chest of the jersey. And then there's the lighthouse, and then the actual in the waistline is supposed to be Lake Erie and the waves. And then our alternate jersey, it is cloudy here a lot. So that's kind of our like overcast jersey.
Yeah.
But yeah, it both ties into that lighthouse, and then the beam coming across.
The evocative concept is very intriguing. I mean, it is being asked in the chat whether this is there's no person in these kits, but this person is in shape. Whoever this is really in shape, Andrew, and maybe something like have you. I guess because it's still a vote and you're still not there yet, you don't know what it looks like on a person outside of maybe some renderings, right?
Right. Yeah. It looked good on the players because they're all, 5'9", 160 pounds. I don't know how that would carry on my frame. Right. But we'll wait and see, how the votes shake out.
Okay.
I do like that it's a different take and an interpretation of a sash on a jersey, and then attaching it to that lighthouse if someone was closer up to it. And I'm curious, when I first saw it, the water at the bottom kind of reminded me of like a cummerbund. Was that intentional? Or?
We put these in the hands of Brian and his team, and then we pass it off to the fans. So, now I haven't seen the cummerbund yet. Now it looks like a cummerbund.
Well, I again, it's the impact of like the water, that you're trying to create that imaging of the water. So that's A and B. Let's move on. There's one more. This is C.
Yeah. So C is one of my favorites. Once again, had you given me complete control of this, I would have done a black and gold LAFC, version 2. So this kind of is, the most traditional of the three. The hidden Mickeys in this is kind of the scales of the Leviathan are on the jersey, and then the lighthouse is over there on the shorts. So we're, maintaining that color scheme that we wanted to go with, but more of a subtle look. This obviously will be, easier on the sponsorship logo, than 1 or 2 or A or B will be. But,
yeah.
This one is, it's just a nice clean one, and I love the black, and then the scales.
This is the most traditional of the three by a big margin, and it looks like maybe it's got some support. We threw up a poll in the chat on YouTube, so if you want to vote on A, B, or C for Leviathan in terms of their kit, not binding. This is not what's going to decide what they go with, Andrew. That you guys have your own voting and all that. So here's the image with all three of them together. Look, I like taking risks. I like being unique. I do think that it helps a club like yours. Mm-hmm. But if you're inclined to think, well, maybe we have to be a little bit more traditional, then C might win out. I guess, or C would be the choice. Yeah. I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Because there tends to be this it happens in naming, and you guys obviously didn't make this mistake in my mind. You went with something that is unique and and evocative in Leviathan, but lots of clubs go, oh, well, we don't want to offend anybody, or we have the traditionalists over here and the sort of maybe more American sports inclined fans over here, and we kind of want to just take the path of least resistance. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm a path of least resistance guy. Like, so I would have had Lorain County Football Club, black and gold jersey, safe, sharp looking. But the community, once again, we're trying to go for that, that National League North, National League South, community first organization. And we're trying to not just say it, we're trying to actually do it. And the only way that you can do it is to just, hand them the wheel. So, I would choose C. We'll see if A or B, kind of outdoes that. But at the end of the day, it's the community's choice. And what we know what the name is, and what we're kind of starting to see with the jersey, is that it's not really a close, it's overwhelming the ones that they're, kind of, falling in love with.
You don't want to bias the further vote by telling us who's in the lead right now. That's all internal. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the chairman saying which is his favorite biases the vote, doesn't it?
That's on some level. Yeah. On some level that is interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, this is a great way, as you said, this is a great way to connect with people and give them some, as Rob was saying, some stake in how the team looks as you get started. You mentioned selling season tickets without players, without a roster, without a schedule. When do things start to click off in other ways for the club in terms of getting the product, or getting your team on the field to represent Lorain County?
Yeah, so we have a coach. We do have the beginnings of a roster, as far as probably 6 or 7 core players that we know are going to be very competitive in this league. The USL 2 league scheduling meetings are next week. So once that gets all approved by the league, we should be able to have a schedule and an opener, by the first week of May. We do have, press releases. We've been getting great press coverage from all the papers, from Cleveland on out. So we do have, a bunch of players ready to go, so all those things are kind of taking, shape. We're just kind of, starting out with the logo, moving to the jersey, moving to the roster, but, keeping the community involved, throughout the process. And we're blessed to have, some really great Division I stars that grew up in Lorain County that were playing in different, states that are coming back. So we're going to be able to tie that in, where you're going to see, your local favorites, who are also going to put a competitive product on the field. And then, jumping into your conversation from 20 minutes ago, our season ticket starts at $60. Not a game starts at $60. And that's, by and large, we are playing in a professional stadium. We are playing in Lake Erie Crushers, home field, which is Forefront Field. So that's, that's not cheap, but our sponsors have been great and allow us to keep the ticket prices affordable. So, I went onto the World Cup website, looked at it for 2 seconds, saw the lowest price package or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, we're we're not going to tell anybody to go to the World Cup. It's a World Cup. It happens, especially in your own country, once in a generation, if you're lucky. But I do think that what we're finding by doing this show and talking to a lot of people is that a lot of people will say, look, maybe I'll watch it on television. Obviously going to still care about it. But what I want to do is invest in my local soccer community, whatever that means. So for some people, that's youth club stuff. For some people, it's a summer league team like yours. And for others, it's, maybe even higher than that. I wanted to ask you, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run, and all those things. But is there a best case scenario, like a dream scenario for what the Leviathan can be? I mean, if you looked at another club and said, we want to be like them one day, do you have an idea?
So first out of the gate, our first goal is to mimic Vermont Green, Annapolis, Ballard FC. So we have a packed house, competitive team, and the community is behind us. Then, I mean, we all kind of look forward. So yes, Sarasota Paradise, Fort Wayne, teams that came out of USL2 proved that they could, make the economics work. That obviously that'd be a great question to be forced upon us, is should we
Right.
talk to the league about, league, the next level up, League One. But we, like you said earlier, we got to crawl before we walk. We got to see if this is sustainable because, we are the new kid on the block. It's a fun thing. It's going to hit right during the World Cup. So our 2026 numbers, may be deceiving. So we'd have to check it out in 2027. And then if it's looking like it's a sustainable path, then, obviously, we've tried to follow that Fort Wayne and Sarasota Paradise model.
That's great.
That's interesting that it seems like you got a methodical approach. If you hit this milestone, then you'll kick the stone to the next level and keep going from there. And in the chat, we've got a couple questions I want to ask you before we let you go. Yeah. But our latest member, Mike, thank you for becoming a morning Kickaround.
Mike says he's a local.
He's from Amherst. He's a quarry man. Mike the quarry man.
And so there is a local fan there. And another question we've gotten into the I got a pair for you here. Who will be the kit manufacturer if that's selected? And then how long is remaining on the vote?
Okay, so the vote easy just kicked off yesterday. So we'll probably run that through the end of the month. As long as the votes are coming in, yesterday we were averaging one every 30 seconds. We're down to about one every 3 minutes now. So it's still, quite moving quite fast. And the kit manufacturer is actually Arrivo, which is, becoming more and more of a national brand. But its owner is Tony Dore, who actually was the first professional soccer player out of Lorain County. So one of the missions that I tried to do, and not everything is doable, is to use vendors that are in the county. And once again, blessed to have Tony, who's doing this on a national level, makes a great product, but then also has that Lorain County tie-in. And I do want to revisit my answer from a few minutes ago. Our next step is adding like a USL W team, to this organization. Right. So we probably would do, USL, 2 men's, add the women in the next 12 months, and then kind of see how things are projecting from there. But I did forget we want to get the women's team up and running, as quickly as possible.
Are you open to a logistic question about your stadium situation? Because again, Mike is now a member of the channel, and he wants to know about sharing with the Crushers and what that looks like. I mean, you don't have to maybe address these specific things, but just the idea of sharing that stadium and what it means for the logistical elements of playing games.
So luckily, baseball does rather long road trips, and it almost works perfectly in our season. So, there's a road trip that they go on at the end of May that allows us to get our opener in. Then they're on more of a sustained one the first 2 weeks of June. So what we do is we actually, we'll paint the field next week, the second the snow melts, but we actually tear the mound out. There's a whole methodology of taking the mound out. There's turf underneath it. So we'll play our games on days that they are, on weeks that they're on the road, which also actually allows us to have like a summer clinic in there as well, where we'll bring in some, players free of charge to kind of, learn from the team for 3 or 4 days while they're on a road trip. So yeah, that's more of a question for the Crushers organization. But, the scheduling just it worked out where they're on sustained road trips, so we can get in there, redo the field, and then, bring it back for them, when they come in town.
And a question about a potential reserve team. There's obviously some very good men's regional leagues, UPSL, obviously a Midwest Premier League as well. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, so that was our tryout had 72 people show up, and you never, obviously 1 through 72 was of varying talents, but there was a solid amount there that the tryout ended with us talking about, Lorain County 2. We're actually going to do Akron City 2 this year. So we're going to get that up and running, and then we'll be able to, kind of build out that pipeline. But what we noticed was the 18 or 19-year-old kind of high school stars that came out, which are, very, very well known names in the community, probably not ready for that USL 2 level of competition, but we want to keep them in the pipeline, and we want to start developing them. And we do not have a club system. We're a standalone club, no tie into any youth organizations. so a USL, an NOSL team or, NPSL, RL, would be a kind of a fit for us as far as, building up that pipeline and then, keeping players in the community.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kick Around. You've given us a lot to think about, a lot of great visuals to look at, and the kit voting and everything that you've described has been very exciting. And thank you to Mike, our brand new member, a local to Lorain County, one of your new fans to the club. Thank you, viewers. If you've enjoyed this segment, hit that subscribe button and consider becoming a member. And thank you so much for Andrew for joining us. Leviathan FC.
That
exciting stuff. And come right back and stick with us. We got one more segment to go. We'll talk it all out here on Morning Kick Around. Hey guys, welcome back in the Morning Kick Around, wrapping up Friday morning show. I'm Robert. He's Jason. We just got to get to know your district, Lorain County, Ohio. Thank you to Andrew. And it's very exciting to see all those kits. And I love to have a kit vote. That's exciting stuff. And we got some great comments in there. Thank you to our members and in our viewers too. We got a lot of friends of the show in there. I saw a travel football fan popping in there. We got some new members, obviously. Shout out to Mike in Ohio for becoming our latest MK Ultra.
Yes, great. Celebrate Mike. We will get back to spotlighting some of our ultras in the coming weeks. Didn't get to that this week, just with busy things. Getting back on regular schedules for your guy Jason, who spent a couple weeks in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you back? Are you over the jet lag? Are you back to Eastern time?
I'm fairly reacclimated to my normal schedule. Yeah, I mean, I got to get the 4-year-old who's going to be 5 in a week. I got to get him up for school every day, and that's always, that's a thing. I don't know how long it's been since you've had to rouse a 4-year-old, Rob, but that's a thing. And then and my wife's back to work, and I got a senior in high school who's got to get all his college stuff ready to go. So yeah, I mean, I'm here, and we are percolating. Like, this is a free-for-all moment on the show at the end of a Friday episode. Very good one, by the way. And this is a place for people to spitball what they want us to do, what they want to see us cover. Maybe we can always talk about things that we have in our minds about things we want to do. I mean, some of that's going to be Discord focused because obviously ultras those people are paying and giving us a little bit of support. So we want to lean into them specifically, but we've got some ideas here, Rob. So should we put it out to the people? Like what else is out there right now that needs covering in American soccer?
Well, next week, I do know the stuff that we do have in line. We have 2 new features of of a countdown to kickoff, rather. We are going to hear from the Cosmos and Atletico Dallas next week. So we're going to get on those beats again, but forecasting a little bit out and something big to kind of like level up and help us get a platform for a successful 2026. We're going to talk about our special show.
Yeah, I mean, we want to do a marathon show. We want to do a much longer episode. We want to get some special guests on during that. Obviously it's going to be an effort to drive interest and bring some awareness to Morning Kick Around so we can continue to grow. I don't know if this is telling tales out of school, but some of you know that Rob Kerr was let go of his job not that long ago. So right now he's kind of in between things. That gives him some extra time. Obviously, it's a stress on his life and his family. So
it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. You got to look positive. Yeah. So in this moment, I'm taking interviews, doing jobs and stuff, but I would love this to be a significant portion of my day in my life, or an expanding part. So this is the opportunity to maybe give us a platform to then, really commit farther than we have before.
And I look, again, without being too brutally honest about this, I want people to understand, like, we're trying to start a business. Like, this is a business. We're trying to start a business. And sometimes, and I don't have a long history of this. I've done some things. I've started some successful podcasts, whatever. Obviously, I have a gig on the radio that supports me and allows me not to have the stresses that Rob is. And then this becomes a secondary thing. But I want this to grow. I would love for this to be my job. not that I want to quit the radio, but I would love for something that I'm directly involved in, that I helped create, be my job. And sometimes when you have a business, you get pushed in directions that maybe were not your original thought about what you wanted to do, right? Like, in order to make the money you need to survive, you're like, well, I got to do a thing I wasn't planning on doing. Not selling yourself out. I don't mean like sacrificing morals or anything. I just mean like, oh, that wasn't our intent. We were focused on something else. And now, because of the way the winds are blowing, or because we need to bring in money, hey, we're gonna have to do something that maybe isn't as true to our heart, right? True to our passion. And so what I'm hoping is that we don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
That Morning Kickaround continues to grow on at this in this way, in this direction. That dot the map becomes the thing that pushes us forward. That the soccer fans of America rally around this idea of, let's tell these stories. Let's talk to Leviathan out of Lorain County, Ohio. Let's tell the stories of some of these lower division clubs. Let's continue to talk about the expansion stories that are out there. And if we do that, because I know there's a marketplace, or I know there's a demand for this, keep this going. But, obviously, again, when there's bills to pay, and not just the company's bills, but real life bills, it's just a thing, right? So again, what we ask is, if you're not an ultra, become an ultra. It's just a couple bucks a month. It supports the show. The number go up situation makes us look better when we go out and try to sell the show to other people who can support us in other ways. And just tell people that we're here. Like spread the word, because we have no advertising budget, right? The best we can do is for me to go on, I quit Twitter a long time ago for mental health reasons, but I don't want to go back to Twitter anyway. So what I've got is a secondary level social media account. We have a small, presence on some other platforms, but that's it, right? The best we can do is me asking friends in soccer to spread the word. And, maybe they will on some level, but that only goes so far. It's up to you guys to tell people about Morning Kickaround.
And we're edging our way there. We hit a nice number of channel members. We hit, I think there are over 100 MK Ultras now. Obviously, thank you to the support for Oakland County FC for supporting our coverage of the World Cup coverage. And then we've also been getting a couple inquiries from other clubs that might be interested in something similar, but obviously being crowdsourced and delivering the things that we've started to deliver for you, expansion news, covering the small teams from bottom and up, and also taking a little bit of an outside of the box look. Maybe I've had some friends saying that we're taking a philosophical look at the sport of soccer in this country, which we didn't come into this be high-minded, but definitely wanted to take a different angle at this whole American soccer thing.
I do think that if people know me a little bit, and again, my blog launched in December of 2008. So do the math on how long I've been opining on American soccer. I think if you've been following me, and whether that's blogging, writing, podcasting, the best soccer show, certainly Morning Kickaround, or I'm sorry, Soccer Morning back in the day, United States of Soccer, which is the show I hosted on the radio for 5 or 6 years by myself. It was always this kind of big picture look at the growth of American soccer. That's what intrigues me, because again, it's the rising tide lifts all boats. It's a dot the map, which wasn't something until we created it. Like, that is what is interesting to me. The growing culture of American soccer is what I'm fascinated by. And all of this is connected, right? And you can, if you want to cover, like, if you want coverage of games, I understand you. I watch games. I want somebody to analyze games for me, right? And that's out there, but that's not what we're most intrigued by, right? Again, I think this is maybe more about community than it is about why did the left back do what he did, or why did the manager send that player on in the 63rd minute or whatever. Like those are important things, and I talk about that stuff on the radio all the time with Eric Ronaldo. But this is something different.
Yeah,
this is something different.
And there's also professional or former professional soccer players out there telling you. And like, do you want to hear about the left back's performance from someone who was a professional left back? Probably. But if you want to hear us scouring the country for updates and news and interviews and access to some good people, and they don't necessarily always come on as guests, but we do have some good conversations and connections and kind of some things being laid out in front of us. And I guess industry positioning is going well in that sense, and that's
look, and
very
by the way,
helpful for us.
because we know people out there in American soccer are listening. And by the way, I would love to be in Philadelphia right now for the coaches convention. Couldn't make it this year. Shout out to everybody there. I don't think people are there at the coaches convention. They may not be listening to our show or watching us today, but I do know some people listen. I do know some people watch, and I'm not talking about like MLS executives. Maybe there's some of those, but I'm talking about people who are trying to build exactly what Andrew is trying to build.
Yeah,
right. Lorraine County or some of these lower division pro teams. Reach out to us. Like, let's figure out ways to shine a spotlight on your club and what you're doing, right? And I mean, we can do an interview, and that can just be the normal thing. We're doing a normal journalistic exercise and bringing on, or a talk show format. We're bringing on Andrew McConnell to talk about Leviathan FC, but it can also be a deeper connection, a deeper relationship, because that's what we want to do. We want to build these things. It's why Countdown to Kickoff exists, because I'm just a dummy who cares about things like how the sausage is made when American soccer. And I want to be able to shine a light on the clubs that are doing it the way they're doing it, because when they are successful and then when they grow something incredible in their communities, other people can say, that's my inspiration. I'm going to do that too. I can go back and watch the story of how AC Boise put their club together, or how Atletico Dallas got off the ground. Although Atletico Dallas has a long way to go, I think it's fascinating to watch that process unfold and see their particular approach to it. And since we're here, I'll mention that I wrote about the two clubs that are coming to Dallas. Right? So you have FC Dallas and Frisco, Atletico Dallas launching in 2027. And I wrote a little bit of that on my newsletter. So go look for that. That's Jason Davis Soccer Eagle. Just type that into Google. You'll find the Ghost website where I'm posting newsletter stuff. Oh, that's the eagle, I think, making a noise in the background.
it was a very modest eagle. That was kind of a I don't know if that was an
very shy eagle.
He wanted a little bit of airtime, but not too much.
All right, we do have. So again, this is about ultras and the community. John wants to know how to set up a Discord. First of all, the thing to do, John, is to download Discord onto your phone. That's the best way to do it. Download Discord on your phone. When you go to YouTube, there will be a link. I will post a new one because it changes every 7 days. There will be a link in a post on the channel for just the ultras. And if you click that, it'll be your invite. And when you have Discord on your phone, it'll link you to our server, and you'll be in the community with the other ultras on a Morning Kickaround server.
One interesting note, not to harp on the financial backing situation, is when you dig into American soccer, it is wild and kind of shocking how many people are truly soccer like as their first thing in their job. I've talked to coaches who are very successful, or even leaders of clubs, and that's not even their day job. It's like there's very few people in the United States where soccer is their first thing priority when they wake up, and last thing, like their 9 to 5. Very few people in the United States that is the case.
Yeah, that's obviously that's what we want, right? And the work is being done, and some of these clubs, they will wither on the vine if they don't get sunlight, right? They will just die. And we are just one small beam of sun that can shine on them. But the bigger we grow, the more people that know we're here and pay attention to what we're doing, the brighter the light that's on these clubs and the more chance that they can survive. And I'm not saying we're the only ones that can help them survive, but we can be a part of that story, right? We can be part of that. I know it's stunning. Like you're like, a new soccer club, it started in your backyard. You didn't know about it. People are like that all the time. All the time people go, I didn't realize a club just launched 25 minutes from my house. Right? So if that's the case, and these clubs are trying, but again, just like us, it's a matter of, do you have the money to go and, find ways to reach those people? How do you reach those people? So I think that, we can be part of that too. Like helping people be more aware of what's happening in their backyards. You may be an MLS fan for the last 20 years and not even realize that there's a new club popping up very close to your house that you can be involved with or support or just be aware of and tell other people about, because the more clubs, the more successful soccer teams we have in America, the better the game's going to be, period.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's why I think it's really scratching an itch, the whole expansion and dotting the map. movement is I think there is starting to be the inkling of people realizing the regionalization is important. It's like, oh, this city with 80,000 people is going to have a city. They'll put a team anywhere. But if you kind of like zoom in and the scale of these teams and what that could mean for regionalization and kind of filling in those maps to make operating American soccer team realistic is a process. Obviously, it's going to take a long time to actually get to that end product. And we'll see if the current events will throw up any roadblocks to seeing that those plans come to fruition. Hopefully not. I hope that we see all these come to fruition. And I'm curious also, another part of that aspect, getting a little sidetracked here, is I wonder how, moving or construction costs are, is there going to be enough supplies and enough workers and all this for there to be like dozens of stadiums to be built in the country all at the same time, which could we get industry enough to where we're going to talk about supply chain management of steel beams for bleachers of soccer stadiums across the United States?
Well, I mean, I think there's something too. I mean, we're just kind of talking off the top of our heads, and I'm sorry that my ADD brain is doing this to you, but there's something to be said. Like I think we did a Discord channel for Soccer Swap Meet, and I know I said I was going to commit to sending some stuff out, and I need to get on that. But I hope that also becomes a thing where people can trade stuff that, I don't, I had this thing. Do you want that? I'll take the other thing from you. Like stuff that maybe doesn't get made anymore in that sense, right? That's kind of a unique thing about Americans. Well, it's not unique to American soccer, but there certainly is a lot of American soccer things that don't exist, that clubs don't exist anymore. And if you want to get your hands, like I'm wearing a St. Louis, St. Louis Football Club shirt because somebody sent me one. And that club doesn't exist. You can also see that I have a scarf there. Same person sent me that. Shout out to them. But imagine a community where we're sharing resources from club to club. Like, oh, I need that, but I don't have it. You put out a message into the community. Oh, our club really needs this thing. I can't really conceive of what the thing is, but we need something. And somebody says, oh, I got one of those. I'll send you that. I'll help you out, or we can work out a deal for whatever that is. Right. Again, like supporting, I don't know if it's steel beams for a stadium necessarily, Rob, but no, it could be something like that. I mean, it could be artificial surface for training facilities. It could be, it could be, think it could be equipment of any kind, really, within the game. It could be ways to travel, like trading and figuring out how to share costs when it comes to travel, which are such a hindrance to the growth of American soccer because of the distances. Like, I just think that, again, I'm my head is in the clouds with this. I admit that. Like, this is all very dream territory stuff, but it doesn't sound impossible to me that we create a network, not just of clubs playing soccer, but of clubs sharing resources so that this thing can grow.
To your point of becoming or realization and awareness for these teams at various levels that might not be in the first division. We have a commenter here, Mark Coleman. Thank you for the comment and thank you for tuning in. Become a member if you're able to. He lives just a few minutes away and he had no idea that there was a club in Fort Wayne. And so learning that at this time is very exciting. They've been an amateur team for a few years and are in the process of building their own stadium now. So hopefully that means you've, a shroud of mystery has been lifted and you now have a professional team in your backyard you didn't know about.
Yeah. I mean, again, we got to get to this place where we stop. I mean, I love that there's always somebody willing to try in American soccer. It always seems, I mean, Fresno's a good example of this, although again, that's being instigated largely by league office down in Tampa. But I love that there's always this, we're going to just keep trying. We're going to keep trying again and again and again. But wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be ideal if we didn't have to keep trying because the first time it worked? Like the first time you did it worked, not the third time, the first time. Like, wouldn't that be great? Like, I'm just sitting there thinking about the St. Louis Football Club. And there was a lot of angst over the death of St. Louis Football Club when St. Louis City was announced for Major League Soccer, right? Like, oh, this is so wrong. This club has some history that has fans. Why do they have to die so the MLS team can live? Now, there was some shared ownership elements between St. Louis Football Club and the new St. Louis team in MLS. And so the people behind St. Louis Football Club said, well, we're invested in the new MLS team. We don't want this other team over there, maybe drawing attention, whatever it is, whatever little bit of attention it might draw, considering the difference in scale. But wouldn't it be better If MLS, yeah, we're going to put a team in St. Louis, but St. Louis Football Club didn't have to die, didn't have to be sacrificed for that. That you could pass, even if the ownership needs to change, you can pass that along. People step up, or there's some way that we can say we have a mechanism for making sure that St. Louis Football Club can survive. And look, if you're really confident that MLS can work in St. Louis, then you shouldn't be afraid of St. Louis Football Club. Can we stop doing this thing where we're fighting all the time over these things? Again, I wrote about Dallas with FC Dallas and Frisco and Atletico Dallas to play at the Cotton Bowl in 2027. I really hope it doesn't become some sort of battle for dominance in Dallas. It doesn't have to be that. If you do it right, there's enough soccer people, enough fans who will go support FC Dallas north of the city, and those who might support Atletico Dallas in the city.
Yeah,
I just hope that that's what we can get to.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that, because that would be pretty exciting. And you said you wrote a newsletter about it. Is we don't really have that big city head-to-head MLS versus USL, which you're saying maybe have it side by side rather than versus, but they'll be occupying the same space.
It's easy for me to say we should do that, and it's always different on the ground and in the moment and these decisions. And then again, you have to have somebody who says, "Oh, I'll pick up the baton of running St. Louis Football Club," when generally speaking, clubs don't make money. Like that, I mean, the vast majority of soccer teams do not make money, right? They are either money losing concerns or they break even at best. And that's what you're aiming for. You're aiming for breaking even. So it's tough to say, hey, somebody should just run that club. But what we need to do is have enough history behind these teams and enough permanence in the mentality and the identity of the communities they exist in that it becomes almost insane to think they should be closed down. Right? No, it's always a very sad thing when a club in England dies, but they try as hard as they can to prevent that from happening before it actually does.
The government will literally try to find some sort of a way to keep it going. Like,
I mean, yeah, they'll step, because those clubs have such an importance to their communities. And obviously, look, again, you can't wish a different culture on American soccer than the one we have. I acknowledge that. But we can't get to a place of my grandfather supported the same club I do if these clubs keep dying.
Yeah, it's like my grandfather supported Westchester FC, but they're called Woolwich and Wimmingham, and then now they are Sport Club USA. Like, that doesn't quite like,
or they don't exist at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be 85 years old and my kid saying, "Oh, Dad, tell us about that soccer team that you used to like that doesn't exist anymore." And it's like a myth, it's like a legend, or they don't even know because it just got lost in the mist of time. I mean, we have NASL clubs that people still remember and still love and still hold in their hearts that don't exist anymore. And that sucks, man. I mean, like, it's just, we've got to find a way. And I know, again, you're asking to herd cats here, but you got to find a way that we don't have to think about this as a zero-sum game every single time we get a club in a new town yeah, man.
You're talking about foundational teams that are lost to memory. I come to think of kind of a connection to our new thread that we added to the Discord server, Found in the Wild. I actually saw a gentleman wearing a Bethlehem Steel t-shirt a while back, but this gentleman was actually wearing it for the company. It was nostalgia for the actual company, Bethlehem Steel. He had no idea about the soccer team.
Wow, that's interesting. And they really just did, there was a Bethlehem Steel, the original Bethlehem Steel, the old school Bethlehem Steel, and then the Union brought the name back and then shut it down because they stopped playing in the Lehigh Valley. Anyway, see, again, this is all just the messy history of American soccer. It's never easy.
That's one of the tenets of this show. American soccer is weird. But while on that note, members of the show, we added a new thread called Soccer in the Wild. So if you see an American soccer branding or badge or logo out and about, is put the picture in there, because we'd love to collect those, because every now and again you can see an American thing. Like, I think it was funny. You're like, I hope it's not just Inter Miami things. In the very first thing posted, there was an Inter Miami jacket, even though it was very cool. We gotta populate that with some more stuff.
I think that one was in Portugal too, which Inter Miami travels, that's for sure, internationally. I saw a bunch in Spain when I was there last year. Makes sense, right? Messi and all that stuff. But yeah, I want, what I was hoping for with that channel is that we get people sort of chronicling what's out there in their communities related to the local stuff in their communities. And obviously, if you know somebody and they wear a jersey or they have a sticker on their car, that's cheating a little bit. but I want to see, like, I want that
A
evidence.
Vermont
That,
green car flag or something.
yeah. I mean, and look, sometimes I live in Northern Virginia, so it's a very cosmopolitan, very transient area too. On some level, lots of people from other places. Like, for whatever reason, I'm seeing a lot of Florida license plates around here recently, and I don't like that very much. Go back to Florida. um, no, but you'll see cars that will have. I've seen Sporting Kansas City stuff in Northern Virginia on cars. I've caught glimpses of, like, I've even seen a New Mexico United magnet on a car in Northern Virginia. And I think that's fascinating. Obviously, I'm also interested in, like, local. So if you're in Albuquerque and you spot a car with a New Mexico United magnet on it, like, that counts. That's soccer in the wild, right? Because we couldn't, even if you're like, oh, well, of course you're going to see it in Albuquerque. Well, no, I mean, you can't take that for granted, because that's never really been the thing in American soccer. Like, soccer has always had this uphill battle to get attention and to break through and to matter in ways that aren't just this casual relationship with, like, oh, it's a fun thing to go watch. Because in Detroit, they are living and dying with the Lions every year, right? And it's not a surprise to see people flying Lions flags and wearing Lions gear and Lions stuff on cars. That's not a surprise. That's normal. But you take it for granted because that's the identity of Detroit. I'm looking for, man, I saw 5 cars today with Detroit City FC stuff on them. That's awesome, because in terms of the per capita, it represents an infiltration of soccer into the community's mentality about who they are.
Yeah, it's all part of the community around it, and trying to dot the map of just like community markers and landmarks in general. Answer your question, our brand new channel member Mike. Yes, USL 2 is essentially a college all-star league. Guys, trying to level up their college positioning, keep in shape for their next college season, or go from college trying to give it a shot and going pro. It's definitely that latter thing. A college all-star league is a great way, a simple way to put it. So to wrap it up, we started this whole conversation that we're going to do a telethon, a marathon episode the Monday after the Super Bowl. February 9th will be the Morning Kickaround 2026 telethon extravaganza. Try to raise some funds, raise some awareness to really put some gas on the fire for our 2026.
And if you have, I mean, we'll look for some new people. We'll reach out to friends of the show. I think I saw a suggestion for a guy I work with on the radio to come by. That very much is in our thoughts with Eric Winalda. But if you're somebody maybe from a past episode or just somebody in general in American soccer you'd like to see participate in that, let us know, because we'd like to get a bunch of people on, like to have guests kind of come throughout the show.
Yep. All right. So next week, we're going to have more countdown to kickoffs. Be sure to check out our interview with Nate Miller from AC Boise. That was great stuff this week. Thank you to our guest, chairman of Leviathan FC today. And then be on the lookout for more videos to be posted today and through the weekend. And as always, thank you for your support. Support the show in any way you can. We'll be back live on Monday. And until then, everybody stay safe and enjoy your soccer.